Hi, it's Karen back with another craft kit video, and today we are looking at craft kit number 12, which is a gorgeous autumnal one. And I'm going to show you today how to make these two cards. When I say they're cards, this one is a card, and this one here I haven't actually put together because I wanted to show you. It could be a tag. You could put it together, it could be a place setting, or you could add it onto a card to make a card front. So just some hints and tips using the kit, and we're going to start off by looking at this card. So let's get started with this one. The kit has been designed to create some lovely autumnal shaker cards, but obviously there's tons more you can do with it. I've just used, for this card, I've used these medium-sized outline little leaves like that. Now, obviously these are all autumnal leaves, but this one here and this one here particularly, you could make them look like holly leaves for Christmas. This one could be like mistletoe. So when you're thinking about autumn, it's obviously got much more versatility beyond autumn. But to make the card, I've already die cut out of white cardstock lots of little leaves like that. So I'll show you those. So first of all, what we're going to do is take those to these. Obviously, when you're looking at autumn leaves, they're often crumpled in a pile and they're drying out, and that was the kind of look that I wanted to get with those. So you need some white cardstock, which is going to be extra to the lovely ones you've got in the kit, and you're going to need your Aqua Shimmer Midas Touch pen, which also comes in the kit. Then you're going to need some way of wetting your cardstock, either I've got my spray bottle here, or even your Aquaflow, the water brushes. So anything just to wet your cardstock. And then you just need something to actually put colour on. I mean, I'm using the Aquaflow pens, and I'm using some of the old colours and the newer colours. And if you haven't got Aquaflow pens, anything that will create a colour, you could do this with ink pads, if you've got any of those, or watercolour paints, just whatever you've got to hand. So first of all, we want to put the colour onto the leaves. So I'll just pick green. So I'm just going to use my watercolour brush for ease. So what I'm going to do, you have to excuse this, it's actually got colour on from the last time I used it. So we're just going to literally wet all over, and then we're going to add. Ideally, I would have watered this down because I quite like the light colour, but as we've actually got water on the cardstock already, it will help it flow. So we just pop that on like that. Doesn't matter if you don't cover it fully, it actually looks better if it's not a solid colour because it looks more natural. So we've got our leaf like that. And then all you need to do is scrunch it up. So the best way of doing it is to just press like that. That just helps. Turn it over, do the same. It just makes it easy to scrunch up, and then just scrunch it up and then open it out. So you've got really lovely little leaf there. Now all you need to do now is pick out those little areas that are folded, and on the fold lines you're going to highlight them with the gold Midas Touch pen. So all I do then is just literally stroke. Hope you can see this. So I'm just going to stroke where I can see the crease lines. And it is hard to see in video, but in real life you'll see a beautiful gold sparkle. So that's all I would need to do, and then I would just let it dry a little bit. So that's how I've created all of those leaves. So that's the leaves bit, so we'll just put that to the side, and you can make as few or as many. If you're going to do a few of these cards, have these spare, and then you can use them. Obviously, if we're talking about Christmas, you would concentrate on the greens, and then you might add some of the Nouveau drops to act as berries. Right, do excuse me, I've got a really weird shadow there. I can't do anything about it this morning, the light's really strange. Okay, so on with making the card. you're going to need some sort of, that's just a card front. I'm going to mount it, but that's just a piece of black cardstock. And then you're going to cut out a frame from some of the beautiful card that comes with the kit. You can see all of the colours here. If you want a good look at what actually comes in the kit in total, if you have a look on YouTube, or you have a look on the Tonic site, or go to the craft kit page on the website, you'll see one of the unboxings, and you'll see some of the videos, particularly the one that I think Karen did where she went through and did a shaker card. So do check out, if you want to see the total amount that's in the kit, do have a look online. But I've just picked this beautiful glitter card for my frame. So I've cut my frame out using some of the Tonic circle dies, and then obviously you've got a lovely circle left, the inner circle to use on the project. And then I've just put some foam pads all around the back for quickness, and then we're just going to pop it on there and eye up roughly where we want the frame to be, because what I need to do now is stamp. So I want to have a good idea that I've got the sentiment that I want to put on the card actually in the right place. So if I position that, if I stamp first, then what it means two things. First of all, if for any reason, and it does happen to all of us, if you mess up your stamping and you do that last, then obviously you've already stuck everything down and you've got a wasted card. Whereas if you do the first thing, that might possibly go slightly wrong, which it probably won't, but occasionally I have messed up. I tend to stamp first, and then all I have to chuck away is a piece of black cardstock if I've got dodgy stamping, as opposed to using it last. So let me just get that sorted. So to do my stamping, I'm going to use the stamp set that comes with it. I should have got a piece of white. Let's get a piece of white. There we go. So that's a stamp set that comes with the kit, and I'm using the Hello Autumn one. So I've got that on my acrylic block. Now when you're stamping, obviously if you've got the stamping platform, the Tim Holtz Tonic stamping platform, I'll get a teeth in, stamping platform, then that's ideal, but you don't need it to stamp, okay? It's just a brilliant tool to help stamping, but if you haven't got it, it doesn't mean that you can't do this project. So I've got my stamp on my acrylic block. What I tend to use, particularly with a dark cardstock like this, is some sort of an anti-static pad, which just means it stops some of the grease and the muck on your fingers transferring to your card, because as soon as you get grease, the tiny little particles on the embossing powder will end up sticking to it, which is a real nightmare because you end up with little bits everywhere. If that's the look you're going for, fab, but if it isn't, then this sort of anti-static pad is perfect. Now, if you haven't got one, if you've got an old pair of tights and you want to put a bit of corn flour or a little bit of baby powder, that will do the same thing. It just means that when I rub this over, then when I pick it up and start handling it, the grease from my fingers is not going to go. There's a little layer, and it just helps with brushing off the particles and the embossing powder too. So let's stamp. Got my embossing powder here, which is in the kit. It might look like a tiny little amount, but it will actually go a really long way because you don't use very much. This copper blush is a really gorgeous colour. And then you're going to need some sort of an embossing pad. Obviously I've got my Nuvo Clear Mark pad here. So we're just going to pop it on here, and it's lots of gentle tapping. What people tend to find, one of the problems that they have when they're first stamping, is they tend to get a halo around the edge of the sentiment, which is sometimes due to the fact they've just pressed too hard, or it goes a bit splodgy because they've got too much ink. So when you're pressing, we're literally just tapping really gently. Now it doesn't matter which way you do it. Don't believe those people who say there's only one right way. Whichever way is more comfortable for you. You can see you don't have to have it on the desk, just lots of gentle tapping. And if you're not sure whether you've got a decent coverage or not, and I can see that I haven't, if you just angle it towards the light, you'll be able to see where the ink is and where the ink is. And if you can see that there's ink all over the pad, obviously I'm just overdoing it here for you, but hopefully you can see a little bit of glistening. It's hot in this light. And then we know we've got enough ink on. And then all you're going to do If you're worried about positioning, take your frame and then we're going to sort of pop it over where we want it to go, remove that, and then just press down. And it's just firm pressing all over the stamp. And there we've got our image. So all I need now is something for the embossing powder to go off on, so I can collect it up afterwards. So literally just sprinkle it over. Don't worry about putting too much on. Tap it off and you can see it's covered really nicely. Hopefully you can just about see. There we go. So put my embossing powder away, because what will tend to happen is as soon as you put your heat gun on, the powder will go everywhere. So it's worth remembering to put it back in the little bottle there. So I'm just going to heat that. You can heat it from underneath, you can heat it from on top. Best thing to do is to get your heat gun warm before you start, because you'll get less warping on your cardstock. So I'll just do that now. So now I've got the embossing done. Isn't it beautiful? Just get these bits of glitter off. What I tend to recommend too is if you are embossing, because there will be a little bit of warping on your cardstock, I tend to use it as a layer rather than actually embossing straight onto the base. You can do that, and if it's thick, really thick cardstock, then it's going to probably warp slightly less. But on with the card. So we've got our stamping done, we've got our frame, we just need to attach these leaves. So again, use your frame as a template so you know where you're working. Get yourself some glue. I've got my tacky glue. You can see it's well used by all the fine lines in it. So what you're going to do then is just arrange them underneath. So we're just looking for a nice little arrangement. If you feel, I've done this before, if you feel that that's going to be sticking up too far, you can actually trim the top of the leaf. So let's just do a quick arrangement. And if you want the leaves to have more depth and you don't want them to be as flat, because obviously we've got to stick them down with glue, you could always stick these on with foam pads as well. So we're just going to work our way around. And I'm doing this really quickly. Got some glue splodging out there. Try and keep the frame roughly. It's just a guide so you know where you're going. Just work all the way around. Okay, I think I'll put one more on the left-hand side. There we go. Let's have a little look. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Obviously leave that to dry, and then once you've put the top on, I haven't got any foam pads with me, but I would just put that on the top of the foam pads. If I just pop these foam pads off quickly. Try and do these super quick. These get everywhere. I always end up going to school to pick the kids up and I've got bits of foam pads stuck to my clothes. People always laugh at me. It's either glitter or foam pads. Right, okay, so we're good to go. So we just pop that on, stick that down. There we go. And again, I'd trim those little bits there so they weren't sticking through. And then you just add that to a base card, whatever colour you like. The white looks a bit stark. Maybe one of these other colours would look pretty. Something like that. But you could choose, depending on the colours that you'd used for the leaves, it might be nice with one of those colours, actually using that as the base card. So that's that one there. That's a really nice and easy card. And again, you know, with your die cuts, if you're careful the way that you die cut them, and I try to do them in a sort of a bit of a pattern with equal amounts there, you've immediately got a stencil or you've got a border plate for a background. So if you cut this down and put it, it would make a really nice background for you to put some focal point on the front. So do think about even using your waste, because it's really, really handy. So let's go on to the second project now. Right, well, onto this project, I've used some of this mirror card, which is beautiful and is perfect for this because it folds really, really crisply. So you can see here, this gives a really beautiful effect because it's in essence acting a bit like facets. So wherever the light goes, you'll see a bit of shine. So it will look gorgeous on a mantelpiece somewhere or wherever you're putting your card. So this I have just created by putting a center point wherever I wanted the center to be. And then on the back, you might be able to see some of my pencil lines. I've just taken that middle point and then I've just drawn out towards each of the points around the leaves. So that's all I've done, and I've made sure that I did it on a rough piece first so that I knew that I was going to end up with mountains and valleys at the right point, so you didn't end up with two of them going up at one point. This was an odd number, which worked perfectly. You might be able to see a little bit better here. There you go. So all I'm going to do is use a bone folder and a ruler, and if you need a pencil to help you initially, you can see there some of my pencil lines. So all I've done is I've taken my ruler, a bone folder, gone from the edge to the center a few times. If you've got a scoring tool, you actually want to put it in that, you can do as well, although I just did it absolutely fine on my table. So all we're going to do now is find your center point, whichever point you wanted to go from, and then it's a case of just going up one. So you've got a mountain fold, and then the next one will be a valley fold. So up and down is the way you're going to do it. Okay, try and get this right. Again, the opposite side, so down and then up. Obviously, I'm doing this quickly. If you want a really firm fold, do that. You could do it with a bone folder, but just be careful with this type of card stock. If you do too much messing around with it, you will slightly puncture the surface. So just be careful with this. So we'll keep taking it round. Got an extra one there. So you can see what I've done there. Okay, so until you've finished, and then you're going to end up with your card, your shape rather, which is really, really beautiful. And you could do this with any shape. It's got sort of a modern geometric type look to it, and these would look fab in a big wreath. If you put these in a massive wreath with different colours, they'd look beautiful for Thanksgiving or for autumn. So that's the card, the basic card folding part. And then all I've done is I've die cut, because with each of these sentiments on your stamp set, there is the die that actually cuts them out. So I've already die cut my lots of love. And then just as I showed you before, stamped and heat embossed. So I've got my sentiment there. And really handily, this little bit here is perfect for hanging your twine on the top. There you are. So on the stamp set as well, you've got some little tiny shapes. There we are, better. So you see these ones here. So I've just used those and I've stamped them in coloured ink. And again, the dies to cut them out are in the kit as well. So I've got these little ones here. So what I'm going to do now is just add those along the bottom. So add another little bit of glue. And there we go. And then just pop those So you can see them just sticking out underneath. Put a light green one on there. You could do this all the way around and have it as focal point onto your card. Obviously, if you're doing it with that, I'd probably want a little band of colour just to highlight the difference between that black and the base, or you could choose a different coloured base. Let's just put the rest of them on. But there's so many things you could do with this kit. This is a really versatile kit. It's not just for shaker cards, even though shaker cards are gorgeous. So then all we do is get our twine, which has disappeared. There it is. Okay, so we're just going to get our twine and just hook it round the top of the sentiment. It would help if it was behaving itself today. There we go, just pop it on, nice and simple. And then you can choose how you're going to do it, whether you're going to add it to there and have it as a present tag or have it on a card. I didn't complete it because I thought it would be more useful to you to see the different elements, and then you can use your creativity to create something using the kit. Right, so that is that little project, and obviously we finished our other autumn wreath one. Lots and lots of things you can do with the kit. I do hope that you have fun playing with it. And obviously, if you haven't managed to get hold of the kit, these ideas can be transferred to other of your projects with the items that you have yourself at home. Thanks for being with me. I'll see you soon. Don't forget to tag us, post the things that you create with the craft kit. Do tag us on the Tonic Facebook group. Or just share with us on Instagram or wherever you post your makes, and then we can all get inspired by each other. Have a great day. See you soon. Bye.